Welcome to another episode of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast with your host, Giovanna Burgess-White, and my co-host,
Yvette Valdenegro. Hello, everyone.
Oh, we're so excited that you're watching us or listening to the replay. Today, we have an amazing guest. We're doing our favorite thing that we love to do, collaborations. And we're making it a lot of fun where you have to listen to the first part with us on our podcast. And then we're going to introduce our guest. Well, you'll be able to finish part 2 on her podcast. And I have had the pleasure to meet Deissy like a year and a half ago. We met at a women's networking event. I absolutely fell in love with her. So I feel like stalking her, following her. We are in Houston. She is an advocate for Latino women. She also has an amazing podcast that talks about just relationships and what's happening in the world. So I really love that she's very similar to us. She just brings it. She's real. She's raw. And so we have her on today talking about her journey from 9 to 5 to her side hustle and what she's really been up to in the last year. So I'm going to bring her on so she can do a little intro, and then we're going to go into her journey and how she's doing. And I want to know what her main goal is in the next year, since I feel like I haven't seen her for a whole year. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing amazing. How are y'all doing?
Doing great. So glad to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to just talk, side hustle, 9 to 5 jobs, that sort of thing.
You can talk about you versus
and me. I know that's usually not what I do. I usually am talking about everybody else, but I guess a quick intro is I'm, like you said, based here in Houston. I'm a dental hygienist, been for 16 plus years now. Love the career, love the path, but as most dental providers know, at some point you have to kind of start to retire that because your body starts to, give out. And so I've been doing that, but in my journey into knowing that I wanted to start a side hustle, it's kind of taken this interesting path because I thought I was going to be a journey of, oh, I'm going to do, life coaching and self-help. But then when I started that, it just didn't click. I wasn't really passionate about it. So something stopped me and I procrastinated. So then I waited, got a business consultant to help me structure some sort of business. I didn't even know what it was going to be yet. And then I finally created Let's Life Design Dental Hygiene coaching and consulting, where I help dental offices actually design the dental hygiene department of their dreams, because I feel like the dental hygiene department is like the mitochondria of a dental practice. It honestly is kind of like the core area where you are building a lot of relationships, but you're continuing to keep the production and obviously make a practice profitable. So that's kind of why I merged my two passions. Obviously, my first passion is always like helping others and being able to, let them be the best versions of themselves. And then my second passion has always been dentistry and just being in that world. And I know it really well. So I was like, wait, why not connect these two? And, through the last year, it's been a journey where I thought it was going to be this, but then all of a sudden I started to step back, listen to the universe, and allow myself to kind of let go of that control of trying to do one thing or one way. And then it wasn't until I got an opportunity last year where we were in our office, we were trying to implement something new, a new technology. And my boss was a little resistant to it, but I was like, no, I know the capability. I know we're going to be more profitable. I'm very business mindset. And after that, I realized, wait a minute. I started seeing there's an actual niche, because I've always been told find a niche and find somewhere that there's a problem and you have the solution. That's always been what I've been told.
Hey, the episode's over. You did it.
I know.
We're done.
I'm literally taking notes right here because I'm like, ooh, I'm going to make these bullet points.
Oh. So I'm like, that's it, y'all. You know that.
I just want to say, first of all, pause, because I haven't seen you in person in over a year, but social media is amazing. You create beautiful stories through your Instagram. Your podcast is amazing. And I remember we had like a 20-minute conversation, but I clicked and I remember just thinking, okay, that's not what you should be doing. Like, you kept on talking about the dental industry and they were like, but then this, and I'm like, there's something there. And so I know you took notes, but niching down and being passionate. Those are the two things that if anyone's listening, watching. Oh, the third thing, it's a roller coaster, y'all.
Oh yes.
They don't happen overnight. It ain't this clear line of like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then this is gonna happen, and then 6 months this is gonna be like she said it. I love that you said it. It's like you started something, that wasn't it. Then you're like, oh, I think this is what I want, but I'm not really sure. But you kept going, and you figured it out. So what did you
And
take?
here it is in order. Clearly, so we're here. We're all three here because we love what we do. We want to help others. We're in business, right? So for those that are listening, again, because I'm like, I know when I'm in the car and someone says something, like, wait, what? Trial and error. This was your journey. Trial and error. Let go of the control. That was key in your journey. You listened to the universe. You found your niche. You believed in yourself. I love that part that you were like, stood up and said, no, I know we can do this. When you're, and then which leads to the last one, you're so passionate about what you're doing that it just like, it was like a laser, boom. Before it seemed like you're just kind of like, okay, this is right here, I'll try this. But all of a sudden, boom, laser. And now look.
And it's all working out. And it's funny because I feel like I'm so scatterbrained sometimes when I'm trying to like get something out of me, and I'll go every other direction but the one I'm supposed to be on. That's just how I think that's just how I've been wired. And I always thought I would never be an entrepreneur. This is a funny story because my dad is an entrepreneur. He's a cattle rancher. So obviously that is on his own. He's an immigrant to this country. And so he created everything he has. And I always said, no, I'm never going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be a 9-to-5 girl. I'm going to work in corporate. I'm going to, be a businesswoman. No, years after year, it started kind of like biting. After I started this podcast journey back in 2020, that's when I started to realize, wait a minute, I am an entrepreneur. I have that in me. I see and this is my coworkers make fun of me because they're like, you're just the solution solver. Like you see a problem, you're already figuring out a solution. It doesn't matter what happened. It's how to resolve it and move forward. So I was like, wait a minute, can I like monetize on this, finding solutions for other people's problems? But like you said, you have to have that passion. It doesn't work. And when I was trying to do like the life coaching, because honestly, what created that life coaching bug was I was in my dating, era, or I still am, but I was starting to date again. And I realized like men just didn't, there was really great men out there, but they just didn't present themselves very well. Like on, and everything's all superficial because you're looking at a picture. And so I was like, wait, what if I could help them like reconstruct their life and, revamp themselves and just shine through? And so that's kind of what was created. But then it never took off. I was like, okay, I don't know even where to start. I don't even know what kind of clients. And it just was a mess. And then, like I said, at that point, I did hire a business consultant to help me just figure out where I could niche down, how I could do that and structure it all out properly so that I could scale it at, once it's profitable and successful, I could start scaling it to, bringing other people onto my business and helping do other areas of a dental office.
Yeah. Which brings me to the 9-to-5 to the side hustle, because there's so many people like, I'm just going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job and be an entrepreneur. That was me so long ago. That's so many years ago. And, there's a method to this madness, and you're living proof of it. And not only are you living proof of it, you're doing it in the industry that you're working your 9-to-5 in. A lot of people love their corporate job. They love their 9-to-5. They actually love what they do. But it's 2022. We know that we don't know if we're going to have retirement plans, 401ks, like that mentality, that mindset of like, that's what you do when you retire at 65. It's like ridiculous. So I do think that you're also living, breathing proof that you found a solution in the industry that you're in, that you love to do, and you're taking the proper steps and taking your time. Everybody wants to rush through and be that overnight success that it does not exist. So talk about that, because you are in the dental industry. And I remember when you talked about it, you were like, I'm like, but you love that. There's problems there that you can solve, and you love that. So like, when did that trigger? Like, when did you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
It was triggered back in probably, when was it? December. It was probably October or November of last year. Because like I said, we were getting, if anybody is familiar with an iTero, it's a 3D scanner that you can optimize your practice with. If you don't have it, you are already behind. Technology is what I say. But when I was going through that process. I was the one that actually kind of mediated the deal because I was talking to the rep, and then I was talking to my doctor, and I knew what the potential was. And at that point, once we had it in our office, I was like, wait a minute, they trained us, but then there was no protocol as to how do we implement this? How do we optimize it? But because I already had background from another practice that I worked in, I already knew how they were using it. I already knew how they were optimizing it. And then I just self-taught myself because like it was hard for them to get a trainer on, to come into our office. So I just, started out doing it on my own. I figured it out. And as soon as we got that machine in our office, I started using it the very first day on one of our patients. And immediately that first day, I was like, I think a patient, we sold some treatment or something based off of that 3D image that the patient was able to see their actual mouth and take ownership of that. Our job, I always say, is, and I know everyone, I hear these stories all the time where they're like, I hate going to the dentist. I get that. And I get that every single day, if not twice a day. But our job is ultimately as providers is to care for you, save, give you a beautiful smile, but also educate you and help you make the right decisions and give you options. And so that right there, because they didn't the company didn't have the systems in place, I felt a little confused. I was like, wait, how are other offices doing this? So then I started talking to the rep because I actually know her just through like, networking. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, what do y'all do with your other offices? How are they implementing this? Like, I'm just curious. I'm a very inquisitive person generally. So I just started asking questions. And I know a lot of people can be afraid to ask those questions, but honestly, all you can get is a no, or they'll just blow you off, and that's okay. Like, okay, whatever. So after I started questioning everything, I realized that they didn't have that's where they had their what do you call it?
Like a disconnect.
Yeah, there was a disconnect of like, yeah, you sold the product to the client, but then how do you help the client optimize on that? And so then I started researching, and I went back to my consultant, and I was like, okay, I have this idea. What do you think? And she's like, actually, I think that you can do this. And so then I went back to the rep, and I actually pitched her the idea just in general before I had started doing any work on it. Once I pitched her the idea, she's like, actually, we would need that. We don't have anyone that does that. Because I wanted to make sure that they didn't already have someone in their company that did it. Because then it's like, okay, why am I going to sit here and pitch a huge company if they already have someone? But then she's like, no, we don't have that. And I was like, okay, cool. So then I just, the fire lit in me. And that's when I knew, I was like, I'm on the right path. And then you start getting signs of like, I'm on the right path, but you do have to be patient. Because like I said, I started this entrepreneurship journey back in 2020.
Yeah.
When I started my podcast, that's when I realized that I was like, I have it in me, and I knew I wanted more. I love my job, but it's, like it's
Corporate.
monotonous. It's corporate. It's not necessarily corporate because it's a private practice, but it's still kind of structured in that sense. And I just knew I wanted more. And I only work 4 days a week. So I was like, I have extra time. I can do more. I'm still young. So then at that point, trust me, there were days where I wanted to give up. There were days where I was struggling because it's like, I'm not getting the answers I need, or I'm not getting them fast enough. Because working with bigger companies, when you're trying to pitch them this idea, once we had a structure and I had a pitch ready to go with them, they actually set up a meeting with one of the bigger directors, like the rep's boss. And then I presented all of that to them. And then once I presented it to them, everybody seemed great because I met with all the sales reps in the Houston area plus their boss. So it was via Zoom. It was in between patients. So it's like you got to just be accommodating, and you have to work with it and just hope to God that the universe is on your side. And thank God, like my boss is very accommodating, and he's understanding. Like, I love my job, and I'm 130% always there and very committed. But he also knows I have other passions. And that's another thing that I do want to talk about is making sure that you have people that are supporting you within, those dreams. And luckily I had someone that, like I said, my boss has been very accommodating. He's very understanding. As long as it doesn't interfere with my actual job, he doesn't care. But then once I presented to this company, it's like, it takes forever to get a response. And then that's where the patience comes in. And even now, like I presented to them 3 months ago, and I'll share this, like, It wasn't until 2 weeks ago when the rep came in with her boss. They wanted to meet our doctor because we've been doing really well with like our sales and stuff in that. And I was like, and I was just kind of in the back. Luckily, I didn't have a patient. I was just finishing up. And then she actually took me to the side and talked to me and asked me to speak in one of their events coming up in July.
Wow.
And which that's creating a opportunity, one, to network for my business on the side for consulting in their hygiene department, but also I'm representing and showing other doctors and that want to potentially buy this scanner, what the capabilities are from a dental hygienist perspective. So it's very different. So they wanted me to speak on it. And then also, I think this is kind of their way of testing me to see like how I promote myself, how I can handle myself around these doctors. And, I'm hoping that we will have a, collaborative, relationship, hopefully in the future, because that'll be like the biggest, business deal that I can probably gain. But I just took a chance. I like saw the need. I just was very bold and I said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to talk to her. And, one thing led to another. And I was like, as these doors kept opening, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go with it. I don't know where it's going, but obviously this is going in a direction that I love. And it's involving a lot of things that I truly am passionate about. And like I said, this is a span of almost 7 months now. So it's like I've had to be very patient with it and just continue to like get my website going, get all these other little things in place so that once we get businesses and once I get doctors, asking for all this information, I'll already be like, okay, here's all the details. You let me know which package you want or how you want me to help you. And then we can go from there. So it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. And there are days where you just want to give up, where you just want to like shout and just say, you know what, I'm done. This isn't for me.
Yes.
But
we've all been there.
I got to say this in the most passionate, loving, and caring way. Okay. This one over here goes and goes and goes and talks, right? But I don't interrupt because I'm like, oh my God, she's saying incredible things. You just said, I'm like, it's the women from Mexico City. I think that whole, like, it's like, I don't know, like you just said so much. I wanted to go point and point and point, but the overall thing, because I kept thinking in my head recently, well, I shouldn't say recently, just since we've been doing this, there's so many entrepreneurs that start and don't understand everything that you just said. So, and we say it all the time, take time, be patient. You've got, and that word hustle, like it's typed down there. Hustle isn't just like you're just doing things and you're like Speedy Gonzalez just all over. It is, it's like there's a reason, and what you're doing behind it is very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just not crafted, but you real pinpoint, exactly what you saw the need. And it wasn't like, oh, there was a 5 million. No, this is the need. And how crazy is it that a business who has this beautiful, idea of helping people, but they aren't getting it. They get it in the hands, but they're not actually teaching people how to use it correctly, or the way, like you said, a dental hygienist would go, wow, this can really open up so many doors for our patients. Like they didn't take it that extra step. You did. But so many people out there think that this is so easy. And I hate to be so blunt, but I'll be blunt, as if entrepreneurship, starting a business, hustle, whatever you want to say, as if it just comes on a silver platter. And it doesn't. It literally doesn't. And everything you just described was the need. You saw it, you were patient, you kept going for it, you talked to bosses. I'm sure there were days you're like, what the hell am I doing? I'm just here, and I've got all these people and they're looking to me. Do you know what I mean? You have to step in that gap. You have to overcome fear. You have to any kind of anxiety or worry, anything that comes your way, instead of just going, yeah, I don't think this is, or they didn't return my call. They didn't do. It happens to everybody. And 7 months really is not that long.
No, it's not. But it's like, this has been in the brewing for, I feel like for years I've had that, like, inkling, or it's like that little like itch that you keep feeling like you need to do something, but you don't know what. But I just kept going. I also, in the side, I like started doing, I started seeing a therapist last year. It'll be a year in August. And I think that it all fell in the right time. It's all about timing and allowing God or the universe, whatever you believe in, it's allowing them to guide you in that timing. Because I know, like, I'm a very impatient person, but I've had to learn to slow down and trust the process. There is a way, and I don't think I would have, if I would have had these opportunities 6 months or, a year from now, I don't know if I would have been mentally ready to take on all of that and been as bold as I've been, to be like, no, I deserve to have space in this world. I'm going to go for what I want. Because a lot of times as women, especially, and I see this quite often, we tend to be quiet. We're always taught to be timid, very respectful, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no. My father raised me to be very independent, very bold. Like, I'm very, I will question everything. If something doesn't sound right, it doesn't mean I don't agree with you, but I'm going to question you because I want to understand why you think that way. So that I can, see, okay, that's cool. I totally understand your view. We can agree to disagree, but we can still be friends. It's just, I'm always going to ask you and go a step further in really knowing that. But I think you have to be ready. Like, you have to allow that, take the time, and you have to take the process and steps to be able to really hone in on, like, figuring out your passion and figuring out and not letting other people tell you, like, this is what you should be doing. You have to kind of figure it out. And because I think that initial, like, once you have that aha moment, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, it's yours. You take ownership of it. No one can take that away from you.
Oh my God. I love it. I think this is a great time to pause because I want to do the second part of the show on, actually, you just touched on it, mental health, community support.
Yeah.
Because this is a journey that cannot be done alone. I think that's a great segment to do on your show. But before we end the segment, do you want to do a little plug on your product?
Yes.
On which episode is sponsored by.
This episode is sponsored by my company. So it's Let's Life Design Dental Hygiene Consulting. The website's still not up, but I'll let y'all know and I'll share it with you. And it's a dental hygiene consulting company where I help dentists design the practice of their dreams to be productive and profitable.
I love that.
And also, of course, I do my podcast, Life is Full of Daisies.
Yes, well, they have to come see you. They have to come listen to you.
Oh, that's right.
Finish this. So what we'll do is in the show notes, we'll have that information, and if it's not ready, we'll say coming soon. But we'll stop here to finish the episode to talk about more on, again, mental health, community support. It's some conversations with friends and family. Sometimes you lose some friends. Sometimes you gotta make circles. And I think that's a great segment to go on to yours. So join us for part 2. Thank you for being on. We're gonna close out the show and then we'll be back for round 2. Oh my God. Love her. Told you. She's amazing. So
very amazing. I just want to say one thing, and hopefully in part 2, we'll talk about this too. What? One thing I caught in there is that she hired someone to help her. And I think that's, we're going to talk about, like you just said, mental health, how it all goes into all of that. But
which is why we don't suggest, if you want to you have to side hustle for a while. You have to figure out that process, that plan. We've seen it. I've been there. The whole, I'm just going to quit my job and figure this all out. You have to have a 9-to-5 to support this, not only financially, but like mentally. I mean, you will go to burnout real quick, and it takes time. I mean, she's been talking about this 2 years, 7 months, and there's still so many pieces to the puzzle. So we're so happy that you watched us, listened to us. If you're watching us live, thank you. If you are joining us on the replay, remember, comments, questions, any other topics you want us to talk about on our show. We have I feel like summer is crazy. We have so many guests coming on. So keep us on your schedule. Every Wednesday we have a new live. Every Friday we have a new episode. And until then, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.